Hello and welcome to my channel for another custom build. Today we're going to be making a 1/12 scale soft goods T800, aka Arnold from Terminator 2. These are the NECA Terminator figures here, and they're phenomenal. This is the ultimate T800, and this is an older one that doesn't have leg articulation. I don't, other than this swivel here. But I love this look when he has the black t-shirt on and he's on the Harley chasing down John Connor in that viaduct. So I wanted to make a version of that to go with a motorcycle. So this is a Maisto 110 scale Harley Davidson Fat Boy. It's a 99. I believe the one in the movie's a 91. They're pretty close aesthetically, so it'll work. I'll be painting this black, trying to match the decals, and then doing some of the other aesthetic changes to make it resemble that of the movie. But to ride on it, I wanted to have a well-articulated soft goods version of the Terminator. And so to do that, I've gathered some parts, had some stuff on hand already, and we're going to be making him. You know, again, this Ultimate T800 is a really great figure, but it's molded plastic, and you can see the seam lines, and you know, it doesn't bend quite as well to fit on the motorcycle. And so I want something that's going to look as much like a sort of like a mini Hot Toy as possible. I really try to go for realism with my figures. When you can see the joints and the pins and stuff, it's just harder to achieve that aesthetic. So let's lay out all the parts, take a look at what we've got, and get to it. Okay, so here's a look at a bunch of the supplies that are going into this. Now, the base body is this Mix Max Body Foo figure, I think it's called. The brand is Mix Max. I don't know the actual designation, but this is one of their like more muscular figures. They also make a slim body. These are a lot harder to find nowadays. If you are going large like this, use one of these V-Toys Zero Body, or there's the GW Toys one, which I used for my Batman the Animated Series custom figure, which you can find the video on this channel. They're just much more anatomically correct, and you know, they have like butterfly joints and stuff like that. I'm saving this for another build, so I am just going to use this because I got a couple of these on a pretty good deal recently. And for a figure like this, I think it's a pretty good one, since it's just being covered up in regular clothes as opposed to like a bodysuit or something. So that's the base. I had this black t-shirt from like just a lot of clothes that I bought on Mercari, I think it was, that somebody was selling for pretty cheap. So I repurposed that by just turning it backwards. And then these pants are from GPS Lot. I'll put a link below to their eBay store. You can get a lot of really great soft goods. I think this shirt is from them too, but I got it from somebody secondhand. Then I also have this leather jacket that I got from GPS Lot that I'll be using. And then this was a belt that came with another little set. I think it was like a low-key TVA outfit, and I saved the belt because I didn't need it for the particular build that I bought those clothes for. But this will go on here, and I'm using this as kind of a guide. This is that NECA one without the leg articulation. It does have this kind of like tan belt, so I'm going to be using that as kind of a guidepost. I did a test fitting of this, and the belt doesn't really stay in place very well. You can see the pants kind of dip in the front. So what I'm going to end up doing is cutting belt loops into the pants and then threading this through just to give it a more realistic look. For the head, I do have one coming from China that's like a shrink of a Hot Toys Terminator head, or it's a 3D print. I'm not sure. But when I take this body and this NECA figure, which is a larger scale, they aren't that much different in size. Like this one's a little bit shorter. So typically you can't really use a 7-inch figure head on a 6-inch body without it looking just like wildly out of proportion. But in this case, because Arnold is a big guy and the Terminator is bulky, like that's pretty much perfect. So I think I'm just going to use this head, at least for now. When the other one comes, if it looks better, I'll swap it out. But this is still a really great head sculpt, I think. I am going to be repainting it so that it has more of a lifelike look to it. And then I am going to take the boots off of this guy and stick them on here. Now, these, you can see up in there, like they connect pretty high. So I may have to Dremel these down a little bit. I'd like to keep him whole, unfortunately, but I need the parts. So, and this one, they don't articulate. Like they're kind of molded in there. Or I guess they're different pieces, but they don't have any swivel or rock to them. So I don't want to take these because I'd have to do more work to get them to do anything that I want on this guy. Aside from that, if you look at the jacket on this one, it's got this little pocket here. It's got this like extra kind of flap with a zipper on both sides. It's got this extra piece that the pocket sits on. So I want to try to approximate as much of this look as possible. This one is just plain, right? So there's nothing on here. It is wired in the front, which is nice. And then as far as the zippers go, I think I'm just going to use the chrome pen and just paint it on. I thought about trying to cut this out and glue it on, but you know, there's different variations in the thickness of this stuff, and I don't know. I don't want to completely butcher these figures so that they're just like an entire figure minus the boots or minus some pieces of the coat. So we'll get to cutting some loops and making some belts and all that stuff, and then keep it going. Mixed results. This is actually one of the better, smoother times I've had painting something with spray paint. I can never seem to get it right. Like, it's always uneven or drippy or whatever. What happened this time, though, you can see these little textures in the paint. I have this big piece of brown paper that I lay down so I don't end up spraying my patio outside, and I used the same one that I made my matrix diorama out of, and it had the little flecked, like, concrete paint stuff on it. You know, I was doing this kind of in the dark. I wasn't really, you know, the sun had set already, and I didn't realize that there wasn't so much of that on the paper that I used. And so what ended up happening was some of it transferred onto these pieces. It sucks, but you know, I'm not going to buy a whole new one of these and start over. And sanding this down would just be, you know, you'd still see the bumps, and I'd have to paint it again. So I'm just going to call it good. It's not that big a deal. You know, I'd like it to be perfect, but these things never are, unfortunately. So you just got to roll with it sometimes. The other thing I'm going to do is this motorcycle in the movie, it had pinstriping on it. There were red and orange stripes that go like this on both fenders, and then on the gas tank here like that. I was trying to figure out how I was going to do it, and I was like, well, maybe I just won't do them. I mean, they're small stripes, you know, won't be that noticeable, but I want this to be as accurate as I can get it. And I remembered that I had some assorted rolls of electrical tape that I bought a long time ago. So I had red and orange, so I cut these really thin strips here, and I'm going to do my best to apply them to this and make them look clean. I ordered some water slide decal paper, which is basically you print out the image you want and you apply it with water onto whatever surface you're going to do, and that is what I'm going to use to do the Harley Davidson logos. I thought about trying to do the stripes that way too, but I want to get this thing back together before I forget how to do it. So I'm going to use the tape, and then I'll just do the logos eventually when I get the paper. That probably won't be on this video because I don't, you know, I want to get this done and uploaded, so I'll probably just do those later on down the line when the paper comes. So you'll probably see some sped up footage of me trying to apply these and starting over. But, you know, you'll get the idea of how it's going to go. And then we'll check back in when it's done. The fun thing about weathering is that you generally don't have to be too precious about it. And it actually is helpful to let it be kind of random. You figure a bike like this, especially like specifically to this movie and that viaduct scene, you know, it's getting dirty gutter water splashing up at it. So this flicking technique really mimics that. I am going in with the brush actually and just doing a little bit of almost dry brushing, I guess, because there's not a lot of water left on the brush at the moment, but yeah, just really making this thing look lived in. These foot pads here should have a pretty decent amount. Adding a little paint to the tires really helps, really shows that they've been on dirty roads and just makes it that much more believable. Wrap them in the pleather material, and then I'll have to make some little straps for them too, with buckles. Alright, so the saddlebags are done. So now I just need to attach them to the bike. And what I'm going to do is I took the seat off. The seat pops off really easily, which is nice. And I'm going to lay a strap like this across and then glue the saddlebags to the strap in the correct place. Alright, so here we are all wrapped up with the T800 and the custom Harley Davidson to go with it. I'm pleased with the final result. This is something I've wanted in my collection for a long time. I love Terminator 2, as do most of you, I'm sure. Not too time consuming all in all. There were some, you know, small little details that were a little more challenging in terms of like the striping on the bike and painting the bike. Definitely easier than a full car, like what a lot of my videos are. So as you can see, he does sit on the bike pretty well, pretty much as well as I think any figure would. I mean, you know, he doesn't fully touch butt to the seat, but that's just because of the width of the seat and the ability of the legs on the figure to spread. Pretty sure he has it right about there in the movie. That looks pretty rad. Now, a cool thing about this bike is that the handles are like soft. You can see there's a lot of give to them. The grips themselves are actually like kind of rubbery, so you can mess with getting the hand on there without worrying about breaking anything, which is really nice. Yeah, and those saddlebags really just sell the look of the final piece. So I'm glad I did it. You know, I almost debated putting them on, because I was like, that's a small detail. So yeah, they look pretty cool. I do want to get a close-up of the license plate from the movie and recreate it to put on here. So that's another little detail I'll probably be adding on in the near future, along with the Harley Davidson logo that goes here. Let's zoom in on the bike and take a look at it here. You can see when the light hits it a little better, you can see more of the dirt and grime that's on it, which to the naked eye is a bit more obvious, and I think it really does just kind of help sell it. You can see it on the gas tank there. Really just gives it a more believable look. The details on this thing are pretty incredible, and it wasn't difficult to disassemble, which is nice. I think that was a well-considered thing on Maisto's part. They make really great stuff. I wish they made 1/10 scale vehicles. I mean, that would just be awesome. They make a ton of like 118, 124 and that kind of thing, but yeah, just really nice die cast stuff. Now, one thing I did that I didn't mention is that after I got the stripes on there with the tape, I spray painted them with a gloss clear coat. I just wanted to seal them in place as best I could so that they wouldn't peel up. A nice clear gloss coat, Krylon, held it down, and then I reassembled it. And I also it had a couple of little turn signal lights. I cut them off because they are not present in the film version of the bike. Let's get Arnie out here and take a look at him. All right, and here is Arnold as the T800. And very pleased with how this turned out. I'm super happy to have a version of him on the shelf. It was very cool to be able to just use a NECA head sculpt. I'm really happy with this to the point where when that other one comes in, I don't know if I'm gonna paint it and use it just because like this one looks great. You know, this NECA sculpt is much more pronounced than a lot of other sculpts in this scale. In other words, it's not a soft sculpt, but I think that really just adds to it. It's always a bit hard to see, but I really added a lot of little details into the skin. There's a bit of a 5 o'clock shadow. There's a lot of like speckling I did to you know, mimic what skin looks like. And again, you know, I've got a couple of videos on the channel where I go over how I paint skin. Particularly there's a Joker head painting tutorial video that talks about it, and I show some other examples of heads I've painted within that video as well. But if you have any questions about that technique or anything, feel free to drop a line in the comments below and I will get back to you. Now, I just kind of want to show some of the details of the jacket here as well in the final version. So we've got this sort of patch piece that has the little tiny pocket on there, and then the zipper, and then a little pocket with the zipper right here, and the zipper on the side, and then this one as well. And then this jacket doesn't exactly lay like the perfect biker jacket, but I've also put rivets there and right there, and done the same thing on the other side as well. I thought about trying to use one of those Mezco Pink Skull Society jackets because you can find them loose online, but I think it would have been too small because, you know, this is the Terminator, like it's Arnold Schwarzenegger, he's huge. And it also has the emblem on the back for the Pink Skull stuff, and I didn't want to mess with trying to, I don't know, figure out how to paint over that or something. So, but I think this achieved a good result, and I'm really pleased with it. I will be making a T1000 to go with him. I have kind of loosely started it already. So here's kind of the beginnings of it. I am going to need the head for that one because the NECA one is going to be way too big, but that's going to be a lot of fun, and it's a good scale to go next to him. So I'm going to do, you know, the bullet effects. I'm going to make little pockets for the front of the shirt. I might try to have one of those metallic blade attachments for his hand. I'm really looking forward to that. I also have the 3-0 Terminator Dark Fate figures, the 1/12 scale soft goods figures. They run a little smaller than these, so I'll have to get creative with how I display them, but I am looking forward to having a nice little Terminator display in my shelves. And of course, this helps to further fill out my iconic movie and TV characters and their iconic vehicles theme in my collection. So I'm very excited about that. This guy will be on display with various Batmen and their Batmobiles. I've got a custom tumbler that I built to go with my NECA Batman Begins figure on this channel. I'm still working on a kit to go with a custom Michael Knight from Knight Rider, so that is forthcoming as well. Very difficult project. So if you enjoy this kind of thing, I invite you to check out the other videos in my channel. There's a lot of this kind of stuff. It's all about building cool displays and dioramas and making cool figures, and it's all from pop culture stuff that we know and love. So do check it out if you haven't already. So that's going to complete this video. I want to thank you all so much for watching, and really just thanks everyone for the support. You know, I started uploading videos to this channel back in February. It's been a really difficult year personally, and having this as an outlet is really a wonderful thing, and it's really helpful for me. And so you know, your support with those likes and subscriptions and comments and questions really means the world, because it's really helped to keep me going over the last several months. You know, I started really uploading stuff to this channel back in February, and in that time I've reached almost 700 subscriptions. That's just, I mean, that growth is really wonderful, and I really appreciate it. You know, it's a goal for me to hit 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year. So if you like this kind of stuff, I invite you to join me and subscribe and come along as we build more cool stuff like this. Now, in this video, you'll have seen a trailer for my graphic novel, Retroactive. I write and draw comic books for a living, and that is my most recent graphic novel. I'm very proud of it, and thematically it is relevant because it's about time travel, and so is this Terminator. So it's kind of James Bond meets Groundhog Day, I'd say, is the best way to describe it. So if that sounds cool, check out the trailer, and there's a link in the description below if you want to check it out on Amazon. Also below, I'll have some links to some of the products I use in this video, like the paint, GPS lot on eBay where I get the soft goods clothing from. If you're interested in the NECA version of the T800, I'll have a link for that as well. So thank you all again for watching, and until next time.
Show me your leadership capabilities. Keep your head on swivel.